There we go. Much better.
It looks like it might work on YouTube, gentlemen.
Yeah, from my experience, it's always easier to link on YouTube.
It is. I think that's what's going to happen, gentlemen.
Okay.
And it looks like we're rolling right now. So I want to check everybody's mic. All right, we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the Coach Scott Fields, host of the Coach Scott Fields Show, and we're coming to you live today. It is May 8th here in the United States. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. I want to welcome our co-host, Tom, from the international page. Tom, I'll have you introduce yourself and then introduce our coaches and our guests.
Absolutely. Tom Rajabzadeh here from Toronto, Canada. Basketball professional with agency background, dual sports guy since college, played soccer, basketball, and been involved in the game ever since. And still, just student of the game, learning every day, and trying to get better. I want to thank Coach Scott Field taking the initiative to host this, and looking forward to build on this with the international community, with support of everybody. We all have one thing in common, is the love for the game of basketball, but now even more so is the COVID-19 situation. And so thank you everybody for coming on board, and I think the very first step is dialogue to communicate. So welcome all.
Yeah, one suggestion I'm going to make: mute your mics until you get ready to speak, because we can hear some background noise and there's a hot mic. So as soon as you go to speak, then go ahead and unmute your mic. It'll be easier for everyone else to hear. So let's go ahead and have Reggie Hansen introduce himself.
How's everybody doing? My name is Reggie Hansen. Coached basketball for a long time. Coached 7 years at the University of Kentucky, 6 years at the University of South Florida. Coached 1 year professionally in Japan. Actually played professionally in Japan for 7 years. So I think this is definitely a great thing to do. Throughout my years of coaching, we've had a lot of situations with players and mental health. So I think it's something that's need to be talked about, need to be discussed, and need to be kept on the forefront. Currently, I started my life coaching practice, and basically what I do there is help people, find their passion, solve problems in their life, accomplish their goals, anything that they're having difficulty with in their life. That's what I'm there for, and help them do. Started an online school as well, and most of my courses are going to be about self-development and helping people overcome obstacles. So I'm excited about all of that, but this subject here I'm most excited about, because I've had some really personal situations with that, in terms of my daughter being diagnosed with a mental health issue when she was in high school. So I'm definitely looking forward to the conversation.
Coach Reggie, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Coach Teddy, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Right. Hi everyone. I'm Dr. Teddy Vilsor from the Philippines. I'm a counseling and sports psychologist here, and I've worked with 5 leagues in Southeast Asia, the major leagues. And I have a master's in guidance and counseling, PhD in counseling psychology. I also went to San Diego University for integrative studies for a certificate in sports counseling. And I have a private practice at the Makati Medical Center in the Philippines.
Outstanding. Welcome, and thank you for being with us and sharing your insight today. I guess I should call you doctor instead of coach. My apologies. Thank you.
Doctor. Yeah, Dr.
Okay.
Steady's been helping me.
There you go.
So
Coach Ariel.
Yes, yes, I'm Coach Ariel from yeah, also from the Philippines, and been coaching professionally for the last 20 years. Started as an assistant. Now I'm go full circle. Now I'm a assistant GM for my team, Blackwater Elite, the professional league, and I'm running like Tom and Coach Scott here. I'm running the Hoop Coaches International webinars here in the Philippines, and I'm so happy to be here. And the topic it really interests me, and hope I can share my experience. And that's why I invited Talk Teddy here, is very knowledgeable on the topic of mental health, and hopefully we could contribute. And we're so happy that you invited us, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you. Again, my name is Coach Scott Fields. I've been blessed to have had a wonderful coaching career, 14 years of coaching here in the United States at multiple college levels, and we were nationally ranked a handful of times. And then I've coached 15 years of FIBA and won multiple championships around the globe throughout my career. Also spent 2 years consulting with the Utah Jazz out here with Hall of Fame coach Jerry Sloan, which was an outstanding. And I did that between my head coaching experiences in China. Excuse me. Also spent 3 summers with the Golden State Warriors when Steph Curry was just a rookie. So that was outstanding to see his development. And then also spent a summer with the Sacramento Kings. I now host the Coach Scott Fields Show, that it can be seen here on the YouTube channel, and then also on Facebook, the Coach Scott Fields Show. So I have been blessed and honored that Tom has asked me to come in and host with you gentlemen to share your insight, to share your expertise, to share your experiences, and discuss mental health for players, mental health for us as coaches, and how we're adapting to that with the current situation with COVID-19, the global pandemic. And I think this platform is outstanding for us to be able to connect, to introduce ourselves to each other, and yet share and discuss this amazing topic that we don't have enough time to go into all the levels, but at least we are having this time to share and have dialogue and talk about mental illness and how it affects each and every one of us and the teams that we lead and the players that we work with and develop, but also for the families, the players, and the communities of the franchises that we are also involved with. So I want to thank each of you for joining us today, and let's make sure we share this content and let's get it out. And the fact that you guys have all been selfless with your time today, it warms my heart, because I'm excited to start this dialogue for mental health. Reggie, I was inspired and touched by your stories. Can you share with us, and thank you for your courage and vulnerability to share with your daughter, so you can share from a coach's perspective and a father's perspective. Please speak on that a little bit, and then we'll kind of open it up. Cue your mic, Reggie. There you go.
From a coach's perspective, it's something that all coaches have dealt with. And you have these players that you see that they have great talent, and one day 2 or 3 days they can dominate, and then for the next 2 weeks it's like, what happened to this guy? And at the end of the day, it's something that's going on mentally and psychologically that's not coming out of him. And as a coach, that's very frustrating. And then back when I was coaching, I finished coaching in 2014, but back during the times I was coaching, mental health wasn't talked about as much as it's starting to be talked about now. So it's definitely difficult trying to help a player when you're not understanding exactly how to. But as far as my daughter's perspective, it was coach and father, because she was a Division I athlete. She was recruited as a Division I athlete, and she was diagnosed with depression and anxiety when she was in high school. And not only that, when she was going through that, she also tore her ACL during that same time. And so going through the depression, turned her ACL, and she tore her ACL the spring before her final year to be seen by college coaches before that final summer. So that really sent her in a tailspin. But the great thing about it was the fact that, you know, when I saw that something was wrong, I went and tried to see what the problem was in terms of getting her to a therapist. Because she had so many accomplishments. She was all state. She was top 100 players in the country as a junior. But she was never really happy. You know, she accomplished so many things. She was a great academic student, but she was always just down. So, you know, I took the initiative to take her to a therapist to see what the problem was. And she was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And the difficult thing about that was, you know, like I'm sure it's going to be with a lot of these student athletes, it took some time for her to really accept that and really understand what that was all about. And so, you know, from my perspective, it was just about being supportive, making sure that we attended the therapy sessions together, and just being supportive through the whole thing. Because again, you know, these kids, they don't know it, they don't understand it, they don't know why it's happening. And a lot of times it could be hereditary. And a lot of times it comes from, we've all coached players that come from very difficult backgrounds. And it could come from different type of trauma that they went through. So at the end of the day, it was just about supporting her and continuing to help her get through it and manage it to where she got to a point to be able to manage it herself. And the great thing about it is, this is what makes her story great, and I'm so proud of her. When she first went into college, she got a scholarship to Liberty University. And when she first went there, her major was physical therapy. And so at the end of that year, her depression got worse. And I was coaching in Japan that year. And that's the year I said, you know what, I need to get out of coaching and really dive into this with her. So we took a year off from basketball to really work on her depression and anxiety. So after a year, she's ready to go back. So I enrolled her at University of North Florida, right here, about 3 hours from me from Tampa, so she could be close. And when she got there, she changed her major to psychology. So she finished with a major in psychology. She's been graduated for about 3 years now, but she finished with a major in psychology. She has started her own mental health foundation. She's working on her PhD in clinical psychology because she wants to be able to help these other athletes out there and people in general to be able to, you know, understand what this is all about. So it's been a great journey to learn as much as I've learned about mental health.
Reggie, thank you for sharing. My degree is also in psychology. And from a coach's perspective, I challenge other coaches to make sure that you have that relationship and that you have that connectivity with your players. I can speak firsthand from experience, from, again, dealing with multiple cultural diversities, socioeconomical backgrounds. The more you're in tune with that individual student athlete or player, the more you will pick up on signs and signals, whether it be body language, whether it be a lack of eye contact, whether it be seeing them kind of become introverted and come into a shell. And I'm sure our doctor can speak on that. But the more that you are in tune with your student athlete and your athletes that you're playing, as you guys all know, the more you're going to be able to be of service to that individual when you see them going through a difficult time, and having those one-on-one discussions. So that way you don't embarrass a player in front of a crowd because they're already dealing with enough. So to have that one-on-one conversation, and then when they become built up with their self-esteem and have awareness of what they're dealing with, then you can attack it more as a group and let the group and the team know that, hey, you know what, sometimes we're only as strong as our weakest link. And if we can pick each other up and uplift and be with each other through good and bad times, you're going to have that strong team bond. So I'm really interested to hear what Dr. Teddy has to say, but I just wanted to share with my experiences just making sure that you have that connection and that personal relationship where you build that trust with that player. And I commend you, Reggie, for stepping away from basketball to be there for your daughter, because I did the same thing. I stepped away from coaching to raise my son that we adopted because he never had a father figure or a role model in his life. And I took that very seriously. So congratulations to you for doing that, to be there for your daughter, and that guidance and direction that you help provide for her is amazing. So I congratulate you on that. So Dr. Teddy, please expand from a clinical standpoint on some of the things that you've heard.
Reggie has covered a great deal. I'd just like to say that Reggie's daughter is very lucky to have him as a father to get to make that kind of sacrifice.
I agree.
I've read Western books. My education is largely Western, and I can only speak from a theoretical base because it's very different in the Philippines. They may not be as open in talking about their problems. Maybe the younger generation would, but at least when I was starting out and I was school based before I went into a private practice. We had some kids, like we called them in because they had made the dean's list for that semester, and we were wondering why the kid wouldn't come in because we were going to give the award. And when the kid finally came in, she was really scared that she had to bring a friend because in the lower levels, the guidance center is seen as a place wherein the students are sent if they did something wrong. So at least for us, there's a lot of things that we need to work on. But the only thing that I can add here is speaking as a sports psychologist, a coach would maybe refer a player, let's say a swimmer, for example, or a basketball player, to a sports psychologist, say for a motivational concern. And then when you go through the initial session, you find out that it's more than motivation. Maybe she has, let's say, for example, a body dysmorphic concern. She's comparing herself to another player with a different body type. Now, as a sports psychologist, if I'm only solely trained as a sports psychologist and I don't have a background in clinical psychology or counseling psychology, I need to refer that player to that psychologist. That issue has to be handled. It's the only time I can go back and deal with her from a sports psychology setting. So what's good here in the case with Reggie is they're open with one another. And the mental health infrastructure is in place to help. Some of this are here in the Philippines, but not a lot of people know that it's there. It's readily available for them, especially in the university area. Not all universities are built the same. I'm sure it's the same in the United States. And this mental health support is not readily available. So I guess in the Philippines, we're still trying to get the word out. The word is out, but we have to get it out in all sectors. But just to add another layer to what Reggie's saying, when a player is specifically dealing with an injury, because if I'm talking about anxiety and depression, that there are different layers. But let's say it's an injury, let's say the ACL injury. They may not be ready to deal with something like that because all these athletes, especially Division I athletes, Division II, they are the top players in their respective sport in high school. That's the reason why they made it to Division I is because they're the cream of the crop. And you hold yourself to a certain standard, and when you suffer an injury, that can be devastating. In San Diego, we had a course. It was career transition and athletic retirement because that's a subject that nobody ever wants to talk about.
Yeah.
You've been playing basketball your entire life. I mean, maybe you bypass college or you're doing what the kids are doing now is you're forgoing college and going directly to the G League as a way to get into the NBA. What happens if you get an injury? What's your fallback? So these are some areas wherein a counselor, a sports psychologist can be of help. There are many other areas, and I'm sure we'll discuss it later on. But now, speaking for anxiety and depression, and anxiety and depression affects people in different ways. There's no textbook on how it happens. It's not as simple as telling somebody, don't think about it anymore. It doesn't exist. It doesn't work that way. And in my years of practice, I've had to handle it differently with different people. So from the initial assessment, is this the type of person that you can push? Will you have, this is the kind of person that you'd have to go easy on them. Maybe they need the person to, have that have that arm on their shoulder, so to speak. So, and there is no timetable for this. Of course, they have to meet a certain criteria before you can say that they're suffering from anxiety or they're suffering from depression. But there's really no timetables. You can't really rush somebody. They'll know when they're ready. But I come from the school wherein it doesn't hurt to to see where you are and maybe push a little bit. But really, if they can't, then you don't push it. So that's what I have so far.
Yeah, Dr. Teddy, thank you for sharing, because I can truly speak from experience what an asset you are to be for a staff or a league, to have a support system built in place to where if an individual is suffering from any types of depression or any type of anxiety, it's nice to know that there's people like yourself where we as coaches can channel them to get the support that they need. So what an asset you are to be a part of, that structure there in the Philippines, because I can tell you firsthand, when I was a high school player, I was a Hall of Famer, and I became bedridden for 9 months after taking an oral polio vaccine. And I became very depressed when I could no longer play the game that I loved. I was blessed and lucky that I was able to get into coaching right away, because that was my way of healing myself, was to help someone else do better. But it's amazing that we have these phenomenal athletes with a very high skill set, but yet have very, very fragile self-confidence and very, very fragile egos. They maybe have a wonderful skill set, but they have a lot of insecurities themselves, because maybe they didn't have structure or support systems built in place. And to know that people like yourself exist to help direct them and help build that up. But again, I challenge the coaches to make sure that they work on those relationships with each of those individual players, to know when they can push the buttons, to know when they push, know when to challenge, but yet also know when you need to be just a great listener and be a great person to be able to help guide and lead and direct that athlete when they're suffering with anxiety and depression. And Coach Ariel, I would love to come back to you and have you kind of share some of your experiences of what you're hearing from Reggie and also Dr. Teddy. And then Tom will have you speak on it.
Yes, I appreciate the time, and I can relate with the coach Reggie, because I also have a daughter, raising a daughter. But as mentioned by Teddy, it's quite different here in the Philippines. I think maybe it's a cultural thing, but I've been blessed, or you say, I coach. I build relationship with my players. I'm very close. When I was in coaching college, I keep a close knit with my players, and I personally, they're welcome in my house, so I'm very close with them. There was one instance that I would like to share, that what, I had a player that had an accident in 2009. So he's one of our players. So it kind of affected our season, because he was close to everyone. He's living in the dorm, but at that point, he ended his he died of an accident. So everyone was obviously hurt, and we had to play the next playing day. And then we were able to channel that. I know it's uh, they suffered from that. It's something that they won't tell, but I feel that they were But somehow, somewhere, it was a tough game, but we were able to hurdle that. And Doc Teddy was there with us, and we could share with us some what happened inside. And but still, it's not something that mental health hasn't been that much discussed. I think here in our setting, here from Asia, but there's Doc Teddy is probably one of only how many sports psychologists here in the Philippines. But again, it's something that we should be aware as coaches and be aware and be ready if we or we one of our players are have problems with it. So it's a good avenue that we can talk about it, and we can learn from experiences from Coach Reggie and from Tom and from Coach Scott and of course from Teddy to Doc Teddy. So I'm just happy to be learning while we're discussing here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach Ariel. And I want to just say couple things. I'm glad for the courage of individuals from the NBA. Kevin Love came out and talked about some of his struggles, and I think that helped open the gates. And then Keon Dooling, another former NBA player, was able to come out and share some of the things that he dealt with. And it's much more prevalent, but because of the masculinity of professional sports, people think they're soft or they're weak, and they feel uncomfortable to discuss mental health issues. So I want to, congratulate some of these young men who are coming out to talk about some of the anxieties and some of the depression and some of the self-esteem issues that these high-profile athletes do have. And I'm glad that they opened the door. And Coach Ariel and Dr. Teddy, there are differences. And again, I've been blessed that when I've coached around the globe, that you also get in tune and learn the cultural differences, because there is difference between Eastern and Western philosophy and doctoring and medicine. So to know and be in tune with those cultural differences as a coach, the more that you can enhance your skill set to accept and adapt to those different cultures and know and understand that those things are also prevalent, I think that gives coaches an upper hand to have those worldwide experiences to deal with cultural diversity as well with mental illness. And so, Tom, I'll allow you to speak on it as well. And then I'll share an example that I had with an interesting young man that I coached in the Middle East, who, of course, I won't talk what country or give his name, but I'll share experiences after Tom shares some of his insight. Go ahead, Tom.
Yes, sir. No, I appreciate that. It's really key. Often talked about anxiety, depression. From my field of being in the agency industry in terms of representation, players, coaches, executives, we're all people.
That's
We're
right.
all people, and the uniqueness of our backgrounds from different cultures, different country, it's often communicated differently in a different language. But anxiety is anxiety. There's no other language to put
Amen.
mental health. And I think Dr. Teddy will speak to this. And there's no analytics. There's no psychometric application to measure this. Unfortunately, at least not that I know of. Perhaps you guys can speak to that. So, and how do you really analyze human behavior? It's one of the most unpredictable, part of being human being. To me, having being in part of the representation, I've had my share of experiences with different bodies to be able to work, whether it's from career planning and contract negotiation, and so I've often come across through different human behaviors to at the end of the day, representative is there for one's benefit. That's why it's attained. But I think what we're going through, this COVID-19 situation, gives us again another platform, another opportunity in this platform for us to talk about. Goes back to the very essence of it, and I applaud Reggie's courage, bravery to talk about it. And what Coach Scottfield said, often because we are such testosterone, masculine driven beings, it's often looked at as, when it's talked about it being weak, or this notion of not being as masculine. I mean, I've being living here in Toronto, again, a lot of cultural differences around the globe, and everybody's going through something in such a different way and form and shape. And to just be able to talk about it, to be able to see it, I see it in the players, I see it in different facets of life. And I once earlier in my career, I really, it's such a, I have such a, passion about the subject that I wanted to develop a psychometric application to really, to be able to assess, circumstances, and to give at least valuable feedback for one's behaviors. But I'm interested. I'm interested to learn more. So I appreciate you guys. I'm here. Just I want to use this platform to get it out there, and again, for you guys to come in and participate. I know it's past midnight in Philippines, and one of the biggest challenges is time zone. No matter what time you schedule this, it's always going to be difference of that time zone. But again, I really appreciate Dr. Teddy, Ariel, Reggie, yourself, and our good host, my good friend, Coach Scottfield, who's very active regards to this, and be able to use this platform to speak out. And there are many other people I hope that come in and join us. It's just to talk about this.
That's right.
In essence, this is the reason, the mission of this page and the International Ball Page, to basketball professionals coming together and taking on us versus COVID-19, and mental anxiety is key now. So how do we tackle mental anxiety? It's in your good hands.
I think it's important that we can coexist with COVID-19, that we can evolve, that we can adapt, that we can all grow from each other's experiences. And before I turn it over to Dr. Teddy, again, when you have a long career in coaching, there are many examples that we can draw from, but I can remember one example of a young man that I was coaching in the Middle East. And Dr. Teddy, I'll turn this over to you, but this young man 2 years prior suffered an injury, and it was a knee injury. And he was at the tail end of his career, and he was one of the most iconic players in that country. So to make a comparison, he would be a Scottie Pippen of that league. Very well known, very well recognized, played with his national team for many years. And so when I was coaching him, again, he was now in his upper 30s, at the tail end of his career, coming back from a knee injury. Well, I was noticing some behavioral problems. He was having behavioral outbursts. He was becoming outraged with little things, which I know was frustration because he wasn't competing at the high level for his own expectations. And I pulled him to the side, and I had an individual meeting with this young man. And I asked him, and again, I won't give a name, but I said, I'm observing these behaviors, and that's not characteristic of you. I said, there's something deeper to this. I said, will you allow me to help you? And he broke down emotionally. And I said, are you using performance enhancing drugs? Are you using steroids? Because I noticed his behavioral and the mood swings. And he broke down and cried, and he goes, I am, coach. Because he said, I want to come back and be the guy that I used to be before my injury. It was between he and I. I did not go to the administration. I did not go to the executives of our team. I got with a doctor in that country who was working with us, and the three of us sat together and I said, how can we get this young man help? How can we get this young man counseling? How can we be a support system for him so that emotionally he is not going to be as fragile? And I was so proud of that moment that he was able to open up to me and share with me that he was using performance enhancing drugs so that way he could compete at the high level. But I told him that I wanted him to be a good father. I wanted him to be a good person. And I wanted him to be able to feel good about himself so that way he could continue to give back to his community and do things. So him being the player was not my priority at the time. I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about him and his well-being so that way he could continue to be a good father and a grandfather in his later years. And I was glad that we had a doctor that we could go to, like a Dr. Teddy, who could work with this young man and get him over the fragility of that, again, that dichotomy of, you know what, you are a good person. You have had great success. You are more than just your identity as a player. You are a human being first. And so I just wanted to share that story with you that I was able to pick up on, just again, body language, his behavioral outburst, his emotional cries. And so just because I was in tune with him, I was glad that after some time that he did open up to me that, yes, I am using steroids, and we were able to get help for that guy. So Dr. Teddy, can you speak on that a little bit? But again, I just wanted to share one example of one time, coaching where our team was undefeated. We were, champs of the league, and we were playing in the Asian Cup and the Arab Cup, but yet we had to take care of him personally first. Dr. Teddy, go ahead.
Thanks, Coach Scott. I'd just like to touch on two things before I get to your Scottie Pippen-like player example. The first is just to add to your list of professional players who have come forward to share their experiences. Metta World Peace, when the Lakers won the championship.
That's right.
He dedicated it to his therapist. So DeMar DeRozan has also come forward. So I just wanted to, these players also to get their due, because by them stepping forward, they show that it doesn't matter if you're earning millions of dollars, you're the same like everybody else.
That's right.
Coach Tom, on your point on stress, there's two types of stress: good stress and bad stress. Good stress is like you're enjoying a great basketball game. Bad stress is you're down with a few seconds remaining, and the clock. You coaches have been in that experience. So good stress and bad stress. But guys, the body only understands one thing, and that is stress. So as you get older, your ability to deal with a lot of stress diminishes. So you have to be smart about it. Okay, but if I talk about that, it's gonna take up the whole show. That's another topic in itself. On a knee injury, first of all, Coach Scott, I just wanted to say that what you did with that player, it was a very powerful moment. And the fact that you were able to recognize what was going through with him, and most importantly, you're able to ask his permission to be of help to him. I feel that you're a credit to your profession. He is in his late 30s, and he's going through a transition. And sometimes when players go through that kind of transition, it's not easy. You're in the top of the world. You're top whatever percentile of all the players in the world. You're the best. And all of a sudden, one day, you're not. It's hard to deal with that, especially your entire life. You're built up and you're talked about in that way. And it reminds you of the book of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She's a psychiatrist, psychologist. She wrote a book on death and dying. That's the title of the book. Now, the book talks about physical death. the stages that a person goes through before they reach the pre-departure area, if you know what I mean. Now, you can easily remember it by the acronym DABDA, D-A-B-D-A. D stands for denial, A stands for anger, B stands for bargaining, D is depression, and finally acceptance. Now, why am I mentioning this? And it's a book about physical death. The book, if you really look at it, it's not only physical death, it could be also the death of how you perceive yourself, being that high impact player. It could be the death of a career, the death of a relationship, that kind of thing. So denial is, this isn't happening. If I take these enhancement supplements, I'll be able to get back on track. Okay. Anger is, you were mentioning he was getting angry because he's doing everything he possibly can and he's not getting the results that he wants. Bargaining, if I do this and this thing will happen, I'll get back to be on the top of my game. Depression is the realization that it's not going to happen. And finally, acceptance. Now, the key point here is there are no timetable for the stages. But your intervention was, will you allow me to help you? That's very powerful because the moment that he accepted that, he was willing to listen. Putting yourself in a position to listen, it's a 50-50 deal. The other person has to want to listen. It's a very powerful thing that you did. So yeah, that's my take on that. And for transition purposes, I do like to tell players, go. I'm not sure if there's still Barnes and Nobles there or any other brick and mortar bookstore. This might be a dated example already, but I'm still at the generation when I went to the bookstore. And I would tell players this: I want you guys to go to the bookstore, to the business section, and see how many former players from the 4 major sports on the business books that they have made. So you have your Magic Johnsons, you have your Isaiah Thomas, just for basketball. And why do I bring this up? Because they were able to, the skills that they learned from the game of basketball, they were able to use it on another arena of life. So be it writing a business book. For example, you coaches know this, your practices are really early in the morning. Or sometimes in the evening. And there's a certain dedication and discipline that comes with that. That can be communicated in another arena of life. There's a term for it. It's escaping my mind. I think it's because it's almost 1 o'clock. That's why I can't remember the term. It begins with the letter T, and I will remember it later. But those are my thoughts on what you said, Coach Scott and Coach Tom.
Yeah, Dr. Teddy, I'm sure at 3:30 in the morning that word's going to hit you, and you're going to be like, "Oh, there's that word I wanted to share." So I understand, but thank you for sharing your expertise, with us all. And I think it's great and I think it's powerful that we are having this dialogue right now. And I invite and I encourage others to feel comfortable to share this content once we're done, because if we can help one person and help them become that 1% to give them a tool for their toolbox, the 5 of us has done something very powerful. And I just want to say before I, turn it back to Coach Ariel, even as coaches, even though, we have to be leaders, it's okay for us to show emotion and be vulnerable. And don't ever think that it's weakness to ask for help. It's okay to say, I'm struggling. It's okay to say, I'm hurting. It's okay to say, I have this anxiety that's affecting my physical well-being, because we all know stress and anxiety has a physical toll on you. So I just want to encourage coaches, whoever hear our voices and whoever is able to listen to this format, that it's okay for you as coaches to ask for help, to seek advice, and to put a support system around you to help you with your physical well-being and your mental well-being. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less of a leader. It doesn't make you unable to do your job. But once you able to put a support system in to help you through your mental anguish and mental stress, you're going to be so much better at your job to empower others on their journey. So it's okay to say, I'm struggling. It's okay to say, I'm hurting. It's okay to say, I too deal with stress and anxiety. So coaches, I encourage you to seek help if you need help. I just wanted to share that. So Coach Ariel, go ahead.
Yes, I'm just so lucky that I met Teddy when he was doing his research, and he some 12 years ago. So he was interviewing my team, my college team at that point. So met Teddy and built a relationship with him. So every time I will consult Teddy on there's on losing or getting not getting the next job, or being fired. So those are the things that I will always consult Doc Teddy. And for you coaches, Doc Teddy is available also for you guys.
Oh,
And
phenomenal.
he's more than willing to be available. And you can find him on our Hoop Coaches International webpage. And you just that's a luxury that I have. But yeah, all of us coaches can relate to this anxiety. I my last professional job here in the Philippines, my contract was 3 years. It was cut to a year and a half, but it was all right. And I was devastated because I came back from a successful coaching in Malaysia for the last 4 years, won the championship, and got an offer here, but didn't work out the way. We missed the playoffs that first time in the last 4 times. So, but the first time they didn't. They won someone else. So I went to Doc Teddy, and I went to golf. So that's how I was able to recover. And now I'm back to with another team and back to coaching in another league. So we have to deal with those, and as mentioned by us, Coach Scott, that have a support system, I have a very supportive family, and I have a friends that supports me, and my golf friends has been with me, and that really helped me a lot. And I can relate because the one that's coaching our team now was also from another team, and we played golf together when he didn't. He got fired from that other team. So golf really was able to help us recover from the hurt, from that anxiety. And I just want to share with you, those coaches that struggling right now or will struggle in the future. We're all in this together, and we're willing to help, and Doctor is willing to help, and this avenue right here, just having to share this story with all of you, and just be able to just brings out the best in us, and how we move forward and be the better version of ourselves. So I'm just so happy. Just listening here. I've been learning so much with Dr. He's been running my team building sessions with my team in college, in semi-pro, in pro, in the ASEAN International, and it's really a big help to have someone knowledgeable, clinically knowledgeable also, and not just by reading books or this. So he's already been there and done that. So thank you, Teddy, again. So I'm thanking you in behalf of all my players that you have helped, and me personally. Thank you.
Coach Ariel, thank you for sharing that. What we got to realize as coaches, we're human beings too. We have feelings, we have emotions, we have stressors on the job because it's a performance-based job, and if we're not winning, you're going to lose that job, which causes stress and anxiety. We have our personal relationships with our girlfriends and our wives. We have children, And if they're struggling with something that they're going through, we absorb that stress as well to try to help our children. We have 15 players usually on a team, and if they're struggling with something, then we have that stress. We have management who has expectations. We have owners and sponsors who have expectations. So coaches are under the gun. And again, it's okay. We're human. We're going to make mistakes. And I think, Coach Ariel, for you to share that, hey, you know what, I was fired, and then there's stress, and then you have like Agent Tom, who is that go-between and mediator who tries to help you as a coach, and then try to find the next team for you. But then you have stress and anxiety of when's my next income coming in? When's my next team going to sign me? When can I get started? And I'm sure Tom hears all that from multiple coaches and players who have that stress, because that's how they provide a living for their family. So yeah, there are many stressors at many different levels that we coaches have to endure. And one of the first things we have to also endure is that if and when a firing comes, it's never personal. It's only professional. And sometimes people who are making the decisions to hire and fire aren't basketball people, and they're firing for the wrong reasons. But yet we still take on that stress and anxiety of saying, wow, what did I do wrong? Why did I get fired? Why aren't they understanding? And usually it comes down to communication. But yes, there are stressors. So I'm so glad that we're able to kind of peel that layer of the onion, because there are many different layers of stressors that we as coaches deal with personally and professionally. And when we can find that harmony and balance of, trying to keep everything at a constant, not have the peaks and valleys. I'm sure, Dr. Teddy can speak on that, as he's probably seen it multiple times. I'm sure Reggie has been, ups and downs, and playing at a high level Division I program in the States, where there are expectations, his own personal expectations, having a daughter. So I feel like this is so powerful for us to have this dialogue. And Tom, thank you again for, allowing us this platform, and thank you for allowing me to host this, because again, I'm able to learn and listen and evolve. No matter where I'm at in my career, we can always learn. But I thank each of you for sharing your stories. So, Dr. Teddy or Reggie, please go ahead.
Okay. I want to touch on what you talked about, relationships in terms of the coaches and the players. I had a player one time who he's pretty much addicted to marijuana, and he couldn't exist without it. He just couldn't exist. And I brought him into my office one day, and we had a long conversation. And he came from a broken home. Mom and dad were divorced. Dad was always in and out of jail. When he was a little kid, his dad's the one that started him on marijuana. So coaches have to deal with a lot of those things. And one thing that I learned as a coach is, you talk basketball with them all the time. You got practice, you got workouts. That's going to be there. I brought players into my office, and when I had conversations with them, it wasn't about basketball. It was about, how's your mom? How's your dad? Whether they're divorced or not, how's your mom? How's your dad? How's your brother and your sister? And the thing about recruiting, when you're recruiting players, you're developing relationships with 7 to 8 people that's around those players.
That's right.
And so when you bring those players in, all those people mean something to those players in some way. So when I would bring them in, I would ask them, okay, how's your high school coach? How's your barber? You ask him about how all those people are doing, so he can know that you really care about him and his surroundings and what's going on with them. And I've developed strong relationship with those players, and those relationships last to this day with those players. And that's what it's all about. When your players are able to leave 5-10 years down the road, they can still connect with you and still have a conversation with you if they need to. That's what it's all about, is being able to connect with them and understand what's going on around them outside of basketball, while you're there coaching them. When you bring them in the office, it can't just always be about when they do something wrong.
That's right.
Or about, what they need to do better on the court. It's got to be about them, how they're feeling and how they're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Reggie, thank you for sharing that. And that triggers a thought. And I think Tom knows this story. about 3 weeks ago, I noticed a gentleman in my community who was a former player of mine who I haven't had, I mean, of course we stayed in touch, through social media and through text messages, but I noticed a Facebook post that this young man had about 3 weeks ago, and he was going through a tough time, and I could hear that and see that in his post. So when I was done with my workday, I called him right away. And again, I won't share his name, but I just said, are you okay? And I dropped everything that I was doing that afternoon, found out where he was at. I went to his home, had a serious conversation with him, and he was in a deep, dark place. And after about 35 minutes of spending personal time with this young man, he was very suicidal. And I'm glad that he had the trust and confidence in me to open up to me, because I put this gentleman in my car. We drove to a local hospital. And even though COVID-19 was going on, I got with the security person outside of the hospital and said, hey, I've got an emergency situation here. I know they have to check the temperatures and they have to ask you, do you have a sore throat? Are you short of breath? But I said, no, I said, this is a mental health issue. And sitting there with this young man, I didn't know it until about 2 hours later, but he actually had a rope in his bathroom and he was going to hang himself that afternoon. And so the fact that we were able to identify through a Facebook post that he was reaching out for help, we got him help. And matter of fact, today is Friday. Wednesday, he was just admitted into a rehab facility. And I am so thankful that just thumbing and scrolling through a social media post in his cry for help, that we were able to be in a place to help that young man. And I get emotional thinking about that, because maybe we saved a life. So I pray for that young man, that we're able to help him. So sorry, but yeah, we got to pay attention to what's going on out there, because I felt like that afternoon I was in a position to save a young man's life, and that's what's happened. So yeah, someone else go ahead and speak while I get my emotions together.
I definitely want to touch on the social media thing and the fact that I applaud you for what you did. You definitely saved a life. There's no question about that. And the fact that you noticed the post that he made, because nowadays when we talk about the stress of the players on the courts, and we talk to my body compared to his body, my talents compared to their talents, but the social media aspect is taking it to a whole nother level, because now athletes are comparing themselves to all these different people or different things in the world that has nothing to do with them. You have a lot of kids out there that that talk about how many likes they have, how many followers they have. They could have 10, 12,000 followers, and they don't realize that means absolutely nothing, because those people don't know them. That's right. And then you got the people that are following them just to jab them, just to bring them down. And so that's another layer of the mental health stress that these athletes are going through. And I'm glad you touched on that, because it's something that's definitely have to be made aware of to a higher level.
Reggie, thank you for sharing that, because it is that these millennials, this generation, like you said, if they've got stuff on Instagram and they don't get enough likes, it hurts their confidence, or they feel abandoned or not accepted, because, well, they like that post, but how come they don't like my picture? And how come they don't like what I'm saying? So yeah, it's out there and it's prevalent. And thank you for bringing that also to the forefront and speaking about the elephant in the room, because those are stressors that this younger generation has that my generation didn't have, thank goodness. So yeah, social media and social media bullying, and yeah, it is a travesty. It is a travesty. So Reggie, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's I applaud you, Coach Scott. You know, I've always had so much love and respect for you over the years. You know, saving this young man's life, it just goes a long way. Just true testament to your character, and it's not you're not just there professionally for someone, but you're there personally for them, and that's. You know, from a mentorship, that's just high level stuff. To you know to be able to save someone's life. I mean, I think that's the biggest honor one can have, to me. And just saving this young man's life. And I know I was contacting you throughout that day, that week, in fact. You know, trying to go, but patiently. Again, I always say everybody's going through something, so you can't let anxiety. You can't submit to anxiety. You can't submit to this pressure that, hey, what's going on with the social media posts, or why isn't there enough likes, or why isn't all these pressures that are coming in, and then for you to make illogical, irrational, emotional decisions. Uh, you know, as a person. So I think you earlier you also touched on another point. You talked about what COVID-19 has done to the world. Man, there are so many players, coaches, executives, everybody. I'm just talking about the whole basketball industry going through financially difficult times because it being breach of contract, it being non-payment, you know, just financial responsibilities, family responsibility, you know, peer pressure, so many different factors that it's just we're just getting bombarded with it. And so talking about it is always key, but it just takes a certain level of courage to come in and put it on the table and get it out of you. And so thank you for sharing this experience with me, gentlemen. The you know, and the other part of the you know part of the anxiety is the job situation. Okay, I can personally talk about this areas because like Ariel said, hey, you know, you had a breach of contract for in a 3-year deal that you were dealt with you know unfairly for a year and a half. So you know, these are things that happen, and with regards to what you said, Coach Scott. At times it's even non-professional basketball people that are at the helm making these key decisions. And it really goes back to your personal situation where you're thinking that, hey, is this, you know, you really become insecure whether that, hey, because it's everything performance based, did I make this mistake or did I? No, but you can't really worry about the elements that you don't have control over. So, you know, I think, and you know, just and I posted a poll about this on a page, and I hope people contribute. And I always try to get this vibe and energy on the page to everybody to come in and contribute, leave a comment, or whatever time permitting, life permitting. We're all going through something, a good stress, bad stress. But Doctor, you got to lead us. You got to lead us. We didn't give you enough platform to speak, and because we have so much to share. But I hope that we can build on this for us to host you back and bring you back on board, and be able to have others involved, so more stories, more and encourage. We can if we can impact one life, man, that's enough. I think more will follow. I think it just comes from the intentions and this group. I can't applaud you more because I posted a picture of golf on the event page. You know, I would love everybody to do this on a golf course for us to sit down in a round table or to do it, but we're doing the best we can. And sometimes we shoot, we score. Sometimes we don't. This morning I thought I had a total miss. and it was an epic failure, but you know what, staying positive and just again, thank you, Coach Scott, for coming on and hosting this and showing your leadership. and Reggie, for you to sharing your insight and invaluable inside story about your personally what you went through. Coach Ariel, you also, I mean, it's a huge privilege to be a part of this group. So I hope to get more people, more basketball professionals involved. For us to take this time to really address this. Because Michael Jordan said one thing that was very interesting throughout all this documentaries episodes of documentaries we're watching, The Last Dance. It's not what obstacle that comes in. It's what you do to maneuver around the obstacle. Right now we have this obstacle, COVID-19, and I think it's it's an opportunity from an optimist perspective to overcome these challenges, and dialogue is all we can do at the moment. So know-how. Thanks everybody for your leadership. I just had to say my 2 cents. Again, more. You guys need more time to talk about this, and from your personal point of view, and for Doctor to lead us to contribute more with your formulas. I learned a lot. I learned about the DABDA. I wrote those down. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, key elements. I mean, that's a key thing I learned today for me personally. So I thank you for that. When I'm dealing with people that I'm dealing with, you can always offer help, but you have to do best efforts. I mean, oftentimes intent is so noble, but the approach could be questionable. And I think we do our best to overcome some of these challenges. So thank you again.
Yeah, Dr. Teddy, I mean, this is your wheelhouse. This is your expertise. This is your background. For you to be with us here after 1 o'clock in the morning, your time, and sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. Can't thank you enough. And of course, I'm sitting here writing, taking notes down too, as you're speaking, because again, to be able to learn from you who deals with it on a daily basis as a profession, as a clinician, we're blessed and fortunate to have you a part of this forum. So I'm eager that when this is over to share this information and maybe have each of you come on to my show as well and share your insights with us. And again, let's continue to help each other evolve. Thank you, Dr. Teddy, Tom, Reggie, and Coach Ariel.
Guys, I have a short one for the COVID-19 if you want to hear it.
Yeah, please.
Okay. All right. It is but a perspective. Okay, so I need everybody to be very open-minded about it. But when I've had some Zoom conferences with patients, and this is the same message that I give them. I hope with your platform will be able to help other people in some form or some way. I'm pretty sure our lockdown situation, our quarantine situation is the same as it is everywhere in the world. We're going on 60 days, give or take. And we are all in the same boat. The way I see it is this is the big event of our lifetime. For my grandparents, it was World War II. Now, this is ours. There are no bullets flying left and right, but people are falling. Our frontliners are falling. So their sacrifice, it's we can't thank them. Can't thank them enough. But talking to everybody at least from a psychological standpoint, you need to prepare yourself for at least December. Why do I say December? Because if I'm wrong, I'll be the first person to admit that I'm wrong. I'll be happy that I'm wrong because that means everything goes back to the way it was. But why do I say December? Is because if everybody's thought process is, oh, when the lockdown is lifted, the quarantine is lifted, we can do everything that we're doing again. That's not the smart move. Why? Because if more people get sick, we're going right back to quarantine. So this is a small sacrifice that we have to pay now, and I understand, especially here in the Philippines, the social classes, it goes through all the letters. We have people who are living on something like $4 a day, and they have no work. So I'm not I'm not thinking, please don't think that I'm not thinking about them. It's just that if you look at the whole picture, people need to look long term at this. Okay, now your mindset is I'm thinking long term. What do you do now? It's very clear that you can't play golf, you can't go out, you can't watch a movie. There are things you can't do. But as Coach Tom said, we need to see this as an opportunity. So now I'm pretty sure you guys have told yourself, if I have time, I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to do that. Guys, you have the time. So what are you going to do with that time? My suggestions are learn something, do something that you've never had time to do before, that you have absolutely no expertise in. This is your chance. I make it the point that I would never say anything that I'm just, going to say it and I didn't do it. During this quarantine period, I have participated in over 22 webinars with Coach Ariel. It's very interesting to have that many webinars in a number of days. So I thank Coach Ariel for that opportunity. I 3 years ago, I decided to do what I'm telling you, do something that I've never done before. I started writing comic books. During the quarantine period, I finished the script. I can't draw for the life of me, but I can write. So I got that out. So I challenge the other coaches to do that, to find something that they've always been interested in, learn a new language, take an online course. If you look hard enough, it can be inexpensive. But most important, it's this: you as coaches, your role is very invaluable. Coach Scott was very emotional earlier, and yes, he did save a life. He did save a life. It's commendable. He put himself at great risk to go out during the quarantine period to help this young man. But coaches, you also need to take care of yourself. You have to take care. You have to take care of yourself, because if you are not 100%, how can you be in a position to help other people? So Coach Scott, Coach Tom, Coach Reggie, and Coach Ariel, you guys are right. You guys have to take care of yourself first. Then you'll be in a position to take care of others. Now, I end with this. I remember the word that I was looking for earlier. It's transferable skills. Learning skills that you learn in the arena of sport, in the arena of the game of basketball, that you're able to communicate in another area of life. So I'm happy I got that down. Coach Scott, you're right. If I slept and I remembered it, I wouldn't forgive myself.
Good for you.
So that's what I have for you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. I would like to end with this. Coach Ariel was one of the first coaches to be very open-minded with what I do as a sports psychologist. A lot of coaches didn't understand it. He did. He gave me my first opportunity to do something like this. He made me realize my dream, and I will always be grateful to him for that. So thanks, Coach Ariel.
Coach Teddy, thank you for sharing. That's powerful, and those are tools for the toolbox that we can all learn from. Coach Ariel, great foresight, great progressive thinking to get Dr. Teddy involved with you personally and with your teams. Well done, my friend. And I hope that your example will show other coaches that yes, let's find support systems out there for our athletes and for ourselves to be better versions of ourselves for the people that we're going to lead, guide, and direct. So Coach Ariel, great job. Coach Teddy, I was getting chills listening to your final words there. And thank you for sharing those here at almost 1:30 in the morning your time. So very selfless of you, very professional, very giving. And I know we're all grateful for the time that you've shared with us today. I look forward to staying in contact with you and even having you come on and be a guest on my show to share powerful insight and expertise.
I'll be happy to, Coach Scott.
Coach Ariel, go ahead.
Yes, I'd just like to thank everyone here and Scott for the opportunity, and I've learned a lot from Teddy, and hopefully we can all learn from each other. So just thank you, and this new for everyone, this COVID thing, and there's I've always been guided by a crisis is it's a curse on or an opportunity. So let's make it an opportunity for all of us. We're here, and I there's so many help out there, or so many learning to learn, and I've been learning from a lot of coaches, from a lot of coaches that I'm attending, from your show, Coach Scott, and all those that that well, the platform that you do something in these times, and yes, it's different here in the Philippines, where some of our countrymen need more help than others, and but just hope that there's better times ahead, and I'm sure there's better times ahead. I've been fortunate to be blessed with to be able to be sharing this game that we love, our passion, and to be able to help other coaches through this platform, and now just growing the game and the network with you guys, and with Tom leading the international ball. Just thankful and that be part of this.
Thank you, Coach Ariel. Coach Reggie, go ahead.
Just want to reiterate what everyone is saying. It's been an honor to be on and talk with all of you and really listen. I'm a person that, I tell people all the time, you're never too old to learn, and I'm always learning, and I'm taking advantage of this opportunity to learn different things. I appreciate all of your insight. It's definitely something that I can take with me and use it what I'm doing, in life. So I appreciate it. I applaud all of you, and I wish all of you the best of luck, and looking forward to, expanding on the conversation we had today.
Yeah. Thank you, Reggie. I'll just say this. This is Tom's vision. I'm only grateful that he asked me to be involved because I believe in that vision. So Tom, thank you for allowing us this platform to come together and for the work that you're doing on the international page. Thank you for having constant communication through text messages and WhatsApp and through your website. I'm honored to be, a part of that process, and thank you. And, I think some of you guys have noticed that during this COVID-19 time that I've upped the frequency of our shows and our episodes and our broadcasts, because I'm hoping that we can empower each other and we can all continue to evolve with the quality of guests that I've been able to bring on and share with everybody. So, Dr. Teddy, that's, one of the things that I've tried to do is, continue to try to help others, to have a platform to allow people to come on and share their stories, share their journey, share their expertise to, again, empower other coaches, but people from all walks of life. And I hope that that's what our show has been able to do, because I have made it, I have made it a mission during this time to provide that. So I'm just thankful that that Tom allowed me to share this vision right here, this baby, with him. And because again, I think this is something very powerful, you guys, that you all took your time to share, share your insights and your backgrounds and experiences in hopes of continuing to grow. So, Reggie, another thing, I made a quick post this morning because another thing that we here in the States are dealing with, and maybe Tom may have got some of that world news, where Ahmaud Arbery was tragically shot and killed a couple months ago, and justice is finally coming to fruition here. But it's too bad that, during this time of COVID-19 where things are so dramatic, that we lost another life of an African-American young man. And my son is African-American. So I shared that post today, and, our thoughts and prayers on May 8th, that this would have been his 26th birthday, but he was tragically shot down and killed through something that is just unheard of, through racism. So I hope that, this is also something that can be continued to be discussed. So Tom, I thank you. And I'm going to let you kind of close the session, but thank you for allowing us to share your vision, because this is your baby. This is your vision. And thanks for allowing me to be a part of that with you, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you for your leadership, gentlemen. Again, I am just learning. I'm just student of the game, and this platform is for you guys. We want to bring in like-minded people to this. This is about beating COVID-19. This is about meeting our biggest challenge, humanity's biggest challenge to me. I think at this point, nothing in my lifetime have I ever experienced of this nature. So yeah, we all contribute in one form or the other. I'm very open-minded. Thank you for Coach Scott. You've been someone that I always respect, and with your leadership and how you help moderate this and put this together and launch it and put it to allow others to view this. We have a lot of time, like Doctor said, we have a lot of time. We have so much time right now in our hand, and transferable skills. I learned that again. Thank you. And so, I'm going to be posting this. Please engage. I want to extend invites for Dr. Teddy to come join our editorial page, for you to post your content and share your content on our page. We don't have a doctor of psychology. Yeah, please, by all means. And thank you. I thank you again, gentlemen. Well done. Give yourself a nice pat on the back. Take care of yourselves and each other. And till next time, I really appreciate you.
All right. Everybody stay safe.
Yeah.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Stay safe, stay healthy, be blessed, and continue to empower others. And thank you for allowing me to evolve with each of you today. I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Let's share this content, gentlemen. Let's grow this. Let's grow this together. Thank you all. Be blessed.
Thank you. Bless.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Get some rest, you guys.
Bye. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great job, guys. Great job.
Yeah.
Tom, Coach Ariel, Reggie, Dr. Teddy, outstanding. Outstanding.
Well done.
Happy to help.
Thank you.
All the best.
Let's connect again, guys. Make sure I'll put on that page, I'll put my contact information for everybody.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you. All right, Coach.